Thanks
Yeah.
again, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is Steve Boulay, and we have Adewale Adewumi, our Power BI expert. Hello, Adewale.
Thank you. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. So welcome to the Power Platform Training webinar series organized by Eperformance Training Academy. This is the second training of the series. We did have a part one last month, which was posted on our YouTube channel. If anyone would like to go there after this webinar and check out the first one. This one's for Introduction to Power BI. Power BI, or Business Intelligence, is a business service that delivers insights for analyzing data. It provides interactive visualizations and AI-driven insights. This webinar helps you understand Power BI service, Power BI desktop features, how to generate reports and dashboards, analyze data, and make confident and quick decisions. So we can go to the next slide, please, Adewale.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about us, Eperformance. We are a solutions development company specializing in grants automation since 1999. We promote better practices in grants management. We're recommended by Microsoft to its clients for grants automation solutions. And we have a support team staffed by certified Microsoft professionals and grants automation specialists. Our skills, which we'll see on the next slide, include...
Hold on, sorry.
Oh, sure.
I was trying to... Yeah, cool.
Great, thank you. Delivering on secure cloud services, solution delivery services, Microsoft Dynamics Consulting, Eperformance, and our Eperformance Training Academy and custom training solutions. We help transform your business through technology. We're going to get to the agenda in just a moment, but I'll let you know that as Adewale's presenting, I will be monitoring the chat along the way. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either jump in or type them out in the chat. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Adewale. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. And again, welcome everyone to the webinar for today. The agenda is as we have it. So we're going to be looking at what Power Platform is, the various components that make up Power Platform. And of course, we're going to be narrowing down into one of those components, which is Power BI. We're going to be looking at all of the components of Power BI. And of course, we're going to be showing you a demo of some of the things you can do, or how easy it is to create very appealing reports using Power BI. And of course, we're going to wrap up by letting you know some of the trainings we offer in the training academy at Eperformance on Power Platform. Of course, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat. Steve will be looking out for that, and then he will draw my attention to it. All right, so having said that, let's jump into what we have for today. So we're going to begin by talking about what Power Platform is. So basically, if we look in the diagram here, we have this blue area comprising of 4 components. We have Power BI there, we have Power Apps, we have Power Automate, and we have Power Virtual Agents. I'm going to be talking about them a lot more in the next few slides. But basically, these 4 components are what makes up the Power Platform. So we have the business analytics component, we have the application development component, which is Power Apps. We have the Power Automate, which allows us to basically automate workflows and all of that. And then we have Power Virtual Agents, which allows us to build bots. Of course, our focus today is Power BI, but we'll just talk about quickly what these components are. Now, all of these components have an underlying data source called Microsoft Dataverse. So it's basically like a data service that allows each of these components to be able to kind of interact with each other. It stores the data that all of these components have access to. Again, in order to be able to maybe connect to different data sources from the Power Platform, we have data connectors that make that possible. And of course, if we want to add artificial intelligence capabilities to any of these to the apps we build using Power Platform, we can actually leverage the AI builder that also comes as a service that can be offered to the Power Platform. So one of the components, so I'll just talk very briefly about this because that's the focus of today. I'll just quickly touch on it and then talk about the other components before we deep dive into Power BI. So basically, Power BI is the component that allows us to be able to take data and be able to transform it and be able to create very appealing reports that could answer questions, that could help in business decision making and all of that. It allows us to do it very, very quickly. And I must also say that one of the underlying mantra of the Power Platform essentially is low code and no code. Low code in the sense that you require very little or no code in order to achieve a lot of things. So you can do a lot while not necessarily writing so much code. It allows you to just do more like a click and drag and drop, and then you're able to do so much. So that's the underlying mantra of Power BI and it of Power Platform, and it carries through all of the various components that we see in that platform. Power BI being one of it. And then, of course, we have Power Apps, which allows us to build applications. We could build web applications or mobile applications using the Power Apps. There are three components of the Power Apps. We have Canvas apps, we have portal apps, and we have model-driven apps. All of these can be developed using the Power Apps component. And then, of course, we have Power Automate, which allows us to automate flows. For instance, maybe you want to automate the process of requesting for maybe leave. Power Automate can actually automate those repetitive tasks that we do on a daily basis. It can help to automate it, like sending notifications when something happens, getting notifications and all of that. So it allows us to automate those are business processes. And then, of course, the last component in the Power Platform is Power Virtual Agents. This allows us to basically build chatbots, intelligent chatbots, such that supposing maybe we have customers visit a site, the company site that has Power Virtual Agents implemented, it will be able to answer questions, and then it will just be like a real expert. They'll be able to ask questions, it will be able to respond intelligently. And if it comes to a point where it's not able to answer or give a specific answer, it can direct the users back to a real agent for them to be able to continue the conversation. So basically, we can actually build such intelligent chatbots using Power Virtual Agents. All right, so let's jump into our focus today, which is Power BI, and that's what the component we're going to be focusing on. So Power BI as a whole is basically you can look at it as a software that allows us to gather data from different sources. As we see in this diagram, we can pull data from different sources. It could be your Microsoft suite, it could be from SQL database, it could be from maybe any other service like Salesforce and all of that. And once you pull that data in, you can actually transform it to be able to generate interesting views that would basically help you answer questions and also maybe be able to make decisions, business decisions based on that data. So this is just like a rough, a quick overview of what Power BI is about. It takes data from different sources, transforms it, and gives you very interesting visuals like we have on the screen there. So what's the workflow like in Power BI? So the very first thing we do is that we have the Power BI desktop. So this is basically it's a free service or free software that comes with Windows. You can actually download it to your Windows machine, and with it you can actually do a lot. You can create all of those visuals. You can pull reports from different sources. You can do your transformation, and then you now push it to what is called the Power BI service. If you want to be able to share that report with others, you move it to the Power BI service. So this is a web application that basically allows you to move the things you have done on the desktop to Power BI service and be able to share it with a host of other persons or other users. And then Once it's hosted on the Power BI service, it can be accessed by the Power BI mobile, that is on your mobile devices. So basically, that's how work basically flows in the Power BI. So you build using the desktop, because the desktop, of course, has all the features. In the Power BI service, the functionality there is a bit limited, so you can't do a lot compared to what you can do in the desktop. So most of the tasks that we do, the grunt work we do, is in the desktop, and then we push it to the BI service, and then from there we can actually share it with more people on more devices and the likes. All right, so the next thing we'll look at is how we model data. So when the data comes in from different sources, with desktop, of course, we can do a lot of things. Then we now go ahead and publish. We publish whatever we've done, whatever report we've created, or whatever visualization we've created. We publish it to the Power BI service, and then from there we can actually share it to different devices. So just basically confirming some of the things that I just mentioned. So this is like a flow, a more detailed flow. So we move from the desktop, where we can do quite a lot. We publish completed reports to the Power BI service, and from there we can actually go ahead and share to different devices, whether it's desktop, mobile, tablets, and the likes. So in order to be able to connect to different data sources, of course, I mentioned that we have data connectors. So Power BI has a lot of connectors. It is able to connect to different data sources. So you could connect to, for instance, an Excel workbook, pull data from there, and then go ahead and transform that data in order to be able to progress. When creating visualizations, this is an example of a visualization. You see a number of things here. We have a number of components. We can refer to each of these as tiles. And then this is so the whole of this makes up what is called a visualization. So to be able to create this visualization, you don't really need to do so much work. All you just need to do basically is pull. There's a pane called the fields pane, where you can actually pull in all the data. For instance, this is a table that was that we pulled from a different source, and then here we have all of these entities, or all of these fields. So once you drag it into the report pane, once you drag any of these fields into a report pane, it generates a visualization. We're going to see that very shortly. So it's so easy to create visualization by just dragging and dropping into the report canvas. And once you're done with creating your reports, you just go ahead and publish it in order to push it to Power BI service and make it available for sharing with a wider audience, right? And then also you can print whatever reports you have created as well. So we're going to be seeing how to do that very shortly. All right.
Wally,
So,
we have
yeah.
we have a question
Sure.
in the chat. So can I assume that the Dataverse components have to be visible or accessible both from Power BI desktop location as well as the Power BI SaaS service on the internet? So do they have to be accessible from
You mean to be able to use the Power BI? You know, it doesn't have to be, but no, it doesn't have to be. Did I answer that?
Great. Is that good, Angela?
I'm just wondering, like, because we work in a government where we have our own
Okay.
network, and so I wasn't sure, some of our data sets would be internal only, and I assume that they would have to have a connector into the actual Power BI service online in order for the reports to be able to be refreshed.
Again, the desktop where you're going to be doing most of the work is mostly what do you call it now? It's so you can actually access whatever, you can actually connect. You'll be able to connect to whatever data source it is, especially if it's most likely like a Microsoft suite, right? Am I correct? Or is it like a different, like a database?
Oh, there'd be a multitude of them, I'm sure, right? So.
Okay, well, but I'm going to show you something when we get to the Power BI desktop. I'll show you a number of things that you can actually connect to. I'll show you in the demo, so you'll be able to see. Probably it'll be able to answer your question better. Yep. All right, so let's go. Let's move on. So Power BI, we have the Power BI desktop. which can be downloaded from Microsoft, or you could download it from the Microsoft Store. Either you download it from the internet using this URL, powerbi.microsoft.com, and then you'll be able to download it for free. The desktop version is free actually, so you can actually easily download it. Then we can also download from the Microsoft Store. All right, you'll be able to download it from the Microsoft Store. And of course, when downloading, you have the option of downloading either the x64 version, the 32-bit, or the 64-bit version of the software. So when you download it, the interface looks something like this. This is what greets you when you open up the software for the first time. And then you have a number of things you can start. You can get started by clicking Get Data, or if you have any recent work that you've been working on, you can actually continue from wherever you stopped there. So this is what the welcome screen looks like. And then of course, once you load the software, it usually asks you to, do you want to try for free? And then from there, you can actually, this is the screen you're going to see. So let me just stop talking now and then show you some of the things, some of the features. We're going to be doing a demo to see how all of this ties into place. And we're going to see how we can actually create maybe a very interesting report, something like this very shortly. All right, so this is what we're going to be looking at, the Power BI desktop. I'll just go over it with you, show you some of the things, and show you some of the data sources you can connect to on the Power BI desktop. It's very, very diverse. I'll show you that, and then we'll talk about a bit about DAX, what it is, how you can actually build and publish a report, and of course, how you can share it on the Power BI service. All right, so let's jump into it without much further ado. So I'm going to go ahead and get Power BI loaded on my system. I'll do that right away. Already have it installed, so this is what it's showing to get started. And yeah, so this is that screen I talked about, and I think I'm good here. Let me just bring this. Let me move this to your view. All right, so this is what the Power BI interface looks like. Like I said we can access data from different sources. So the first thing we're going to do is going to try to look at what are the various sources that we can actually connect to. So if we go to home, we see get data here under the home tab. You can see quite a number of things you can actually connect to. I'm going to click on more, so we can even see even way more things we can connect to. So you can connect to, these are all the things you can connect to at once. If it's a database, you can see different kinds of databases, which you'll be able to connect to a whole lot. If it's Power Platform, you can connect to Dataverse, Power BI data flows, Power BI data flows. If it's Azure, you can actually connect to different databases on Azure. And then, of course, if it's an online service, you have all of these things you can actually connect to. Yeah, for others, we have so quite a number of things you can actually connect to. But in our own case, we will be connecting to an Excel report. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel this. So this, just bear in mind that you can actually connect to a whole, look at SQL Server Analysis Service Database. So if you have such database, you can actually connect to it. Power BI provides such connectors, so you can actually connect. I think that answers your question as regarding SSAS. So that's it. All right, so now let's go ahead and connect to an Excel database, an Excel workbook. I'm just going to use the sample data that comes with Power BI. So I'll just click on that. And then I'm going to load the sample data into my. Right, so this brings up the query. So here, now this is what I'm seeing now is allow me to, this is what has been loaded. This is the data set that has been loaded. And I'm interested in this particular file. This is the file I want to work with. So I just click on it. And then you'll see now that when it was not loaded, these two buttons were not activated. But once I click on it, they become activated. So I can either load the data as is. If I click on load, means that I don't want to do any form of transformation. I'm okay with the data. The data is clean, it's fine. But most times you would want to first begin by transforming the data, which is what I'm going to do to show you how we can actually transform data. And what loads up for me is this, the Power Query Editor. So this particular Power Query Editor in Power BI allows us to be able to transform our data, clean it up. For instance, you want to do one or two things, like for instance here now, I have units sold. It's in a decimal. It's in decimal because if you click on this, you see it's a decimal number. So supposing I want to make that a whole number, I can actually go ahead and do that by clicking on the symbol there. It brings up this drop down and I change it to whole number. So what that will do is that it will round up everything inside here from decimals into whole numbers. So I can just say replace current, and you see that it has actually rounded up everything into a whole or into whole numbers. All right. So that's one thing we can do. That's one form of transformation we can do. We can transform decimal numbers into whole numbers. We can also, for instance, looking at the segment here, which talks about the various segments that in particular, we assume this is the report for a multinational company that has about 6 products in their they have 6 products basically that they create, and they target different sectors: government, mid-market, channel partners, and all of that. So we want this segment to kind of stand out. We don't want it to just be like this. We want all of these values to be in capital letters or uppercase letters. So we can actually do that by selecting the column. We select the column and then we go to home. Click on the home tab and then I'll click on transform. Yeah, click on transform and then I'll click on format and then I'll select uppercase. So that has changed all of the items here into uppercase letters. So now it's kind of, it calls my attention. When I come to the data, I'm able to see that, oh, all of this is in capital letters. So it kind of calls my attention. Another thing we can do to transform this data before we leave it is to come and look for this column that's called month name. So basically, it's just referring to month. So the name there is not necessary. It's not necessary. We don't need to say month name. We can just say month. So we want to get rid of the name there. So I can just double click on it and then just get rid of name, so that all we have here now is month. Okay, so just to make it trim. And then of course, one other thing we could do is we pretend that this particular company has a number of products. So if we come to the products column, go to the products column, where is that? Yes, so this is the products column. Now let's pretend that this set of products are no longer, maybe has been discontinued. The company no longer works with this, or they want to discontinue the production of this this particular product, and they don't want it to be included in the report they are trying to create. They want to be able to see the profitability of their business in terms of which of the products are doing well, where is it being sold the most, what region is it being sold the most. So for supposing you want to get rid of this, you don't want to include this product in their list. So all you just need to do is to come to the product column, select it. When it's selected, you see the yellow outline on top of the selected column. So we click on the drop down in that column, click on it, and then here we see all the products. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we want to get rid of Montana. We don't want to include it in the report that we're going to create. So we'll just uncheck it, and you'll notice now that it's no longer in that list. It has been removed from the list of products. So just clean that out. All right, so while we were doing all of those transformations, notice that on the right-hand side of the screen in the Power Query editor, we have applied steps. So for instance, I just removed Montana. If I made a mistake and I wanted to go back and maybe correct what I did. So instead of, if I wanted to, for instance, bring back Montana, I can just cancel that step and you see that Montana comes back. So while we do all the transformations, it's keeping track of all the things we're doing. So we can always backtrack to whatever step that maybe we made a mistake at some point. But I'm going to leave Montana unchecked, just showing you the applied steps field there so that you can be aware of it, that with it you can actually go back in case you make any mistakes. You can always go back to correct them. So once we're done, we can actually go ahead now and save this transformation. So we've done a lot of cleaning to the data, so we're satisfied. We want to go ahead and say we're done. So we go to File, and then we do Close and Apply. So when we do Close and Apply, what it's going to do, it's going to load the data that we have just transformed into our workspace. And you will see it's going to be appearing somewhere here now. Here. So once it's done, you will see. So we brought in the financials table. If you click on the arrow, it shows you all the fields inside that table, all the columns inside that table. So we can actually see it as we have on the screen there. So this is the canvas where we can actually begin to put our various visualizations. You can build our visuals. You can see it says select or drag fields from the fields pane onto the canvas, onto the report canvas to get started. Okay, but just before we do that, I just want to talk about, I just want to show you one or two things about the data analysis expression language, which is basically like it's a formula language. Basically, if you've been used to working with Excel, it's just like writing formulas basically in Excel. It has a similar pattern. So I'm going to show you how to write a DAX formula. And to be able to do that, we'll go to home. Yeah, so we'll click on new measure. So I'm going to try to create a new measure now to determine maybe total units sold. So if I click on new measure, notice that when I clicked on that, it added a new column to the financials table, and then it presented me with a screen. And then this is where I can actually begin to write my DAX now. So my data analysis expression formula. So here I'm going to name the column. So it's going to be called total units sold. And then one thing you notice about this as well is that when you start to type, it has autofill. I mean, it generates things and says, okay, is this what you're trying to say? So if I say sum, for instance, I can actually click on enter, and then it's auto-generating the values for me. So what I want to do is so it says financials, referring to this table. The name of the table is financials. So I want to find the sum of a given field. So to specify a given field within it, I use the square brackets, and then I start typing units sold. So I want to determine the units sold. So I click on that. So it helps me to, as I'm typing, it fills up the values for me. And so with that, I have been able to create a new measure that basically checks the total units sold. So once you do that, there is a check mark beside it on the left-hand side. So you click on that, it gets, you'll notice that it has changed it on the right-hand side there now under field. So we have a new column in our financials table now called total units sold, which is basically the sum of all the units sold. So we've been able to add a new measure, and we were able to do that using the data analysis expression language, also called DAX. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch. So again, this is on the left-hand side here, we have three views. So we have the report view, we have the data view, and then of course we have the model view. So what we're looking at the moment is the report view. So we're going to switch to the data view. This is where we see the rows and columns of our table. So we're going to switch into this view, and I'm going to create another table. So we've been able to create, we brought in this financials table through get data. Now we want to add another table. We want to create another table dynamically using DAX, or the data analysis expression language. So how do we do that? So we go to home, and then under the home tab, I'll go to calculations and say new table. I want to create a new table now in addition to financials table. So here I will specify what the name of the table should be. For instance, let's call it calendar. And then, so I begin to type calendar. So what I want to do is to generate a calendar, a set of dates from this range from 2013 January 1, 2013, all the way to 2014, December 31st. So that will be 12, 31. I think I made a mistake in date. What this will do is that it will create a table, a one-column table consisting of dates starting from January 1, 2013, all the way to 31st of December 2014. So it's going to generate that for me automatically. And how do I do that? I'll just come again to the left-hand side of the DAX formula that I just wrote and click on the check mark. So if I do that, it generates the value automatically for me. So that is the data analysis expression language. So now we have two tables in our fields. You can see here, if we come to the fields pane, we see the calendar and the financials table. Now these two tables are unrelated. How do we know? If we come to the third view in our Power BI, which is the model view, so we have this is the data view that shows us the rows and columns of the tables that we have. Now, if we come to this view, it shows us all of the tables. So if you have multiple tables, you'll be able to see all of them in this particular view, the model view. And you notice that there is no relationship between this table and this table. So for us to be able to do a very good report, we need to establish a relationship between them. So we see that date and date is common to both of them. So we can actually go ahead and establish a relationship by dragging this date, select it, and drag it to the other one. So what that will do is that it will create a relationship between the two tables. So now the two tables are connected. We can now actually go ahead and begin to build our report. We're going to begin to build our report. So to build our report, I'll switch back from the model view back to the report view. So remember, we have three views: the model view, which shows all the tables and the relationships, if any, and then we have the data view, which shows us all the various the various rows and columns of our table. And then of course we have the report view, where we can actually begin to do the real thing, the visuals and all of that. So let's begin to build our visual. We start by putting in some title to title our report. Let's give our report a title. So to do that, I'll go to under the home tab. I'm going to look for text box. So this will basically allow me to enter text, a title. Okay, so when I clicked on that, it brought out this box. So here I can begin to type. Let me just reduce the size. If I like, I can also increase probably what I want the text size to be. We'll make it bold, and then I can begin to type. So let's say this is going to be an executive summary, finance report. So just expand this so that it stays on one line. So this is the title of my report. All right, so the next thing we want to do is begin to add in some visuals. So for instance, we want to be able to see what is the profitability of the company in terms by date. We want to see the profitability by date. What day, or was it in what month or what year was the company most profitable? So we can actually do that by coming to we'll come to the fields pane, which is basically where we see all of our tables and the various components or the various fields or columns under each of those tables. So we're going to drag profit, and then we're going to place it inside the canvas area, anywhere inside that area. We're going to just paste it, and you notice that by default it brings up or it puts up a column chart. Now, if I add date to it, if I add date from the calendar table, if I add it to that thing, you notice what is going to happen again. Now it shows me 2 years. Remember that in this calendar table we created a year range between 2013, January 1st, 2013 and December 31st, 2014. So that's what we are seeing here now. So that is the profitability. We see that in 2014, the company was more profitable in comparison to the year 2013. And how did we do this? It was just by dragging all of these fields from the respective tables onto the diagram. So that's how easy it is to actually create a visual. So now we're looking at profitability by year. Now we can actually go further and let's make this a bit. So what I'll do now is to change the date from date hierarchy. I'll change it to just plain date instead of plain hierarchy, or instead of date hierarchy, I'll change it to date. So now we see that it's now looking more interesting. So we can actually see like the various months, how the profitability was doing over that period, especially the year 2014. Right. So now that we have this, we can actually even change what we have now is a bar. We can actually change the type of the visual. Supposing we want to change it into a line chart, for instance, we'll just leave the chart selected and then we'll come to visuals. Under visualizations tab, we see the line chart there. So if I click on it, it has changed the visualization. Now it's now showing us as a line chart. So that's one thing we again can do. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to create another visualization. Let's try to create another one where we have a map that shows us the various regions and how profitable those regions were, for instance. So what we're going to do is to click outside. So I'm going to click on the white area, make sure that I don't have anything selected. If I had anything selected, I can delete it. So make sure that there is nothing selected. And then we're going to pick from financials table again. We have the country field. So I'm going to drag that into the blank area. And what you will see is that there is it generates a map for me automatically. So if in case you don't see this map, there's a setting in your file. So you go to file, you go to options and settings. Under options, security, global security, then you come here and say map and field. So you need to check this in case it's not, it will actually direct you on what to do, but this is how to be able to see the map. So once you click on that, once you enable it, you'll be able to see a map just like I have here. So what we're looking at now is just country. We want to be able to see how well these countries were doing in terms of profitability, to know which region, which of the regions or which part of the world is the product or are the products of this particular company moving very well. So we'll just come to profits and then we're going to drag it and paste on the map. And then notice that immediately we can actually see some new bubbles. We see that the bubble has actually increased. So it's showing us the various regions of the world and showing us where the company's profit is usually. So we see that it's residing mostly in the European region compared to North America. Okay. Right. So this is another visualization that we've been able to just create by just pulling in the various columns together to generate a visualization like this. Now let's say we want to add some further visualization. For instance, we want to be able to see how well sales, we want to be able to see sales, products, and segment, we want to be able to see how all of these tie together. What does it show? What can we see from that particular? If we join all of those things together to create a visualization, which product is most profitable for the company, and which of the segments of the economy is the product being sold more? So we can actually do that by simply again clicking outside. Make sure that you don't have anything selected. Then once you don't have anything selected, you can actually come to the right-hand side of your screen, the fields pane, where you can now begin to bring in all of those components. For instance, we want to see sales. We also want to see the products. I'm going to put all of them into that same chart, and then I'm going to see, I also want to see the segment as well. So I'm going to bring in segment. So what this is going to show me, or what this shows me, is basically all of the various products. Remember now there are 5 products. There used to be 6, but we didn't want to see Montana, so we removed that. So what we have now is 5 products, and we can clearly see here that the product called Passio is the most profitable in comparison to the other ones. And we see that in terms of segments, the government and the small businesses are what this product. I mean, that's where it's actually moving. The segment where the product is being sold more compared to the other. So the company is going to see that, okay, we need to continue to invest in this particular product, and then of course we should continue to target the government and of course small businesses. So this is another visual that we've been able to build very, very quickly. Now, to tie everything together, to just make it very, very interactive, we can add maybe like a slicer to actually make it to complete our visualization. So I'm going to just arrange this a bit so that I can free up space to add one more visual here and complete my report. So to do that, I'm going to start by making sure that I don't have anything selected, because every time you want to create something new, you must make sure that you don't have anything selected on the canvas area. So I'm going to bring in date from here. So we have that. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select slicer. So I'm going to select slicer. So that's the under visualizations. There's this component called slicer. So notice what it's going to do to this. Once I click on it, now it breaks it into 2. So now I can actually, let me drag it down so you can see what is. So if I click on this, I'll be able to see the year, quarter, and the month. Supposing I'm only interested in the year and the month, I don't want to see quarter, I don't want to see day, I'm only interested in the month and the year. All I just need to do is to come to the field for date, and then where it says quarter, I'm going to delete that. So notice what is also happening on my screen. So now I have year and month. So I want to also get rid of day. I don't want to see day. I only want to see year and month. So now when I expand, I only see the year and the month. So I can actually, select, and I'll be able to see what is going on in each of the various months. So it makes it kind of interactive. Okay, so having done that, we are basically done with the report. You can always go back and add some fine tuning, maybe add colors, backgrounds, and all of that. But basically, the report is technically done. We already have something that looks very good. So we have slicer here. We have this one that shows profit by dates, profit by country, sales, and sales by product and segment. So supposing we want to now export this, or we want to publish this particular report. So to go about publishing the report to Power BI service, the first thing we need to do is to save it. So at the moment it's untitled, meaning that it's not yet saved. So we need to save it. So I'll just go to File. I'll just click on Save. And then I can just call it Financial Report. Financial Report. Financial Report. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Stop and click on Save. All right, so Now that I have it saved, I can actually go ahead and publish. So to publish, there's the button. I'll make sure that I'm in the home tab, and then I'll just go ahead and click on publish. So if I click on publish, it will ask me that, okay, Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service work better together. Sign in to enhance your collaboration and access organization content. So I need to basically sign in at this point. So when I sign in, it's going to ask me one or two things. So click on that. I'll enter my password. Sign in. So it will do two-factor authentication, approve. And then yes, so I'm signed in now. So once I'm signed in, I can now choose where I want to publish to. Now take note that when you want to begin to use Power BI to share, when you want to begin to share, you need some form of license. So that's when you need to now pay. Licensing comes in when you want to share your data. If it's just that you want to use the data within your system, you don't need any license. But once you want to begin to share with others, then you need some form of license. Okay, so I'll click on my workspace and then select. So what it's going to do is it's going to publish this report to Power BI service. Okay, so it has done that. So it said success, open financial report. So if I click on this now, it will open it up in a browser, and that's the Power BI service. So this is what it did. So this is the browser. So it shows me the report. So from here, I can actually go ahead and click on share to share it to different persons. So it says upgrade to Power BI Pro. So this is the license you require if you want to be able to share. You want to be able to share your reports. And when you also share, it's important to note that whoever you're sharing it with, sharing your report with, has to also have the same license for them to be able to access it. So, so that's basically the thing about Power BI. So you require the Power BI Pro license to be able to share, and then whoever is going to be receiving it or whoever is going to be you're going to be sharing it with also must have that license in order to be able to access the report. Okay, so just something to bear in mind. And yeah, so that is sharing. Let me see if I can. I think we covered everything that we were supposed to show. The next thing is let me try to ramp up. Slide. All right, so we've been able to, I showed you the Power BI desktop. I showed you how to prepare your data. I talked a bit about DAX formula, which is the data analysis expression formula that allows us to create, we could create tables, we could create measures dynamically. And then I showed you how to build your report and then also publish the report to Power BI service. And then on Power BI service, I also showed you the share button, which allows you to share your report with different persons. And I mentioned that you need a license to be able to share. And whoever is going to be receiving it also needs to have that license for them to be able to view whatever you're sharing with them. Okay, so that about wraps up my presentation. Maybe I'll let Steve handle it from here. Steve.
Great. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so some this was a sampling of the kind of things that we cover at ePerformance within our training academy. Some of the, if you found this beneficial or like to learn more or see that it's a path that you would benefit from learning more about, some of the other offerings we have a dashboard and reporting with Power BI, which is a one-day course. We have our Power Platform Developer 4-day course, and our Power Platform for Public Enterprise at 5 days. All this information about what exactly is covered in the courses is available on our website at eperformanceinc.com, which you can see at the bottom. So we can go to the next slide. Yes, thank you. And if you have any other questions or any new questions come up regarding courses, what's available, scheduling, things like that, you can contact our administrative manager, Melissa De La Cruz. Her email address is there. I should update the title. and phone number as well. Or again, you can contact us through the website, eperformanceinc.com. So with that, I'll say thank you to everyone for attending, and we hope to see you in some future sessions or webinars.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.